Yes.
Natalie.
Your music and like your fan base has changed and grown so much.
And diminished at the same time. Yeah.
Has your drive diminished with it? As you like, how has your drive to do it changed?
This feels like a Cialis commercial.
Well, we all want.
I would say my reasons for doing it have changed. Part of that is a consequences in the changes in the music business, and part of that is a consequence of I'm just older and I just see it differently. I'm very committed to music. I'm not committed to celebrity. I'm not committed to fame. I'm not committed to the things that people try to make the Smashing Pumpkins that don't have anything to do with what the Smashing Pumpkins was about. What they think it was about wasn't what it was about. And it's just because everybody kind of seems to go in a certain direction doesn't mean like we should just get on that train and keep riding. So it's a strange thing. It's a little bit like meeting somebody from high school who's just like, yeah, I remember you were the class clown. You're like, not really, no, remember Bob, he was funny. And then like, no, you were the class clown. It's like, all right, I guess that's what it kind of feels like sometimes. It's like the band's legacy has been taken and subverted and changed by a sort of a mainstream opinion which doesn't really have anything to do with what the band was about. In essence, the band's success has become the defining image of the band, but yet Smashing Pumpkins fans don't really have much to do with that image. So we kind of deal with this weird thing where we roll into town, we play in front of anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 to, in some cases, 60,000 people. And we deal with a crowd that wants to see what we actually do, which is related to what I once did. And then we got to deal with the journalistic class, and then the general public, which doesn't give a fuck, essentially. Although there are a lot of fans who are journalists now, which is interesting. But no, what I'm saying is because they grew up on the music, so they have a different perception than, say, somebody who was writing about it back in the day. And that class of people, which aren't invested in it, well, the easiest thing is to default to that image. Well, it was once about this and was once about that. And it's like, actually, it wasn't really about that. That's what they wrote about, but that becomes it's like a tombstone. It becomes your epitaph. So we deal with the transitional space between the perception and the reality. So I'm very invested in the reality, but I'm not interested in the perception. In fact, the perception really is stupid. And ultimately is at the root of why most of the music business is going down. Pick your aging person who's like 7 facelifts in and 3 marriages in and playing with people they don't want to play with in order to sustain something which was once vital and is now basically a shell of what it once was, but because that's where the money is, because that's what the public wants and it lines up with that perception. And so we're willing to turn our backs on all that and be about music. And so that hasn't changed.
Right on.
So.
Alonzo.
Well, it's apparent that the 4 of you have a really great chemistry between each other, and it's apparent obviously when you are playing. Jeff, a while back ago, Billy had actually in an interview mentioned that you were pretty adamant about not having or bringing any other musicians in with you guys during tour, and I don't know if that might have anything to do with disrupting the chemistry or what. I just wanted to see if you could possibly elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, it's just, it all sounds fine and dandy when you sit there in theater going, oh, it'd be nice to have keyboard
Right.
strings or this, but when you travel together, when you're with people basically 24 hours a day, other than when you're sleeping, bringing in another person, it's not like that anybody that was with us before was bad, but it's very hard to have a good dynamic here, and anything that you add to it could make it great, it could make it worse, and I just felt it was important to let this relationship grow to its fruition before you start adding, subtracting.
Right.
So that was all just my logic behind saying that.
It was actually just jump in, it was actually very wise. I was more in the thing of like, well, I want to play a wider breadth of music. How can we represent that? Having keys helps us play certain songs that we can't play as a 4-piece. Like when we played Mayonnaise before, Lisa would play it on the piano. So we tried different things and had different emotional templates. But I think the point that he made, which was wise, was we need to get ourselves on the same page. And anybody you add to that mix, it's like adding that one more ingredient in the stew that doesn't need it. There's something about the fidelity of the way that we work together that it just seems to work better. Less drama. Anybody else?
Ed. Do you have any advice for up-and-coming guitarists? I have a little brother who has a strong passion for playing guitar, and I just want to support him and give him any kind of advice, any kind of feedback he can get.
The difficulty is that the music business is now predicated, I mean, it's always pretty much been this way, but it's even worse than ever. It's predicated on the idea of somebody very original comes along, and then once that person becomes successful, they break through the level, then they go out and try to find 40 people that are just like that. You know, I don't want to say bands anymore, I'm gonna stop doing that. Anyway, I won't say names, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, now, because the general public is so adverse to following new music, you literally can't get a deal until somebody's like, oh yeah, it's so-and-so meets so-and-so meets so. Like, you have to be an original in the music business is almost an impossibility. But that's the only people that really truly succeed. And that hasn't changed. And I don't care what it is. So being a true original is really the only path. The problem with it is it's a harder path. It's a much harder path. So it's like if you sit in your bedroom and you want to play like the top 10 guitar players of all time, you could probably impress everybody in this room, but you wouldn't impress me and you wouldn't impress him. So ultimately, it's like, who do you want to impress? I used to have this guy on my block, like a kind of a tough, puggy, nose Italian. His nose had been broken about 8 times. And he used to come to my room and say, are you as good as Ted Nugent, huh? You know, he'd like get in my face about it. He was like my friend, but I mean, it was like a thing. Like, you as good as Nugent, you as good as Schenker, huh? You as good as Eddie Van Halen. Right? So, if I'd fallen in that trap, then that's all I would have thought of. And I never would have figured out how to play the way I play, which is good and bad at the same time, right? No, but seriously, think about it. It's like we don't fall in love with a cookie cutter person. We fall in love with somebody who's an individual who speaks to us. Well, it's the same thing in music. If you think of Bob Marley or Jimi Hendrix, I mean, you know exactly who they are. Even if there's a mystery, you know who they are. You know, Axl Rose, you know who they are. It's that mystery of attraction, and I don't really understand it, but there's only one of them. That's the key of success in the music business. Anything less is, then you're just another guy down the street making another set of donuts. And to me, that's boring. But most of the music business is about basically saying, well, our donuts are just a little bit better because we put sprinkles on top. It's bullshit, basically. So, anybody else?
Time for one more. Ben.
Yeah, for Nicole. So what is Seether? We know what Seether isn't, but what is Seether?
Well, so Seether's supposedly Louise.
The what?
Louise.
Oh, okay. All
You
right.
know in Volcano Girls? With
Yeah.
the follow-up to Seether? It was explained that the Seether is Louise.
I didn't get as many
Come on,
laughs as I was
didn't
hoping
you
to
got a
back
second record?
Thank
No,
you.
man.
You guys have your own meet and greet now, or Lucas Salt meet and greet? I'm just kidding. Okay, thanks everybody. Hope you had fun.
Thank you.
All right, guys, this is William. He'll take care of you from here.
All right.